Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Wednesday Night Modern. I'm Matthew Cartier, joined in the booth here by Dan Dwan. Hoping to see some good Modern tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got two players already seated, so we'll throw down to the player immediately here.
Yes, so on the right here, we're going to have Ned playing against Phil Silberman. Both of these players are pretty good and experienced. They're not always here on Wednesdays, but they both are tonight.
Yeah.
And they're paired into each other, so this should be interesting.
Yeah, these are two very veteran players, I think in pretty much every format.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both players are pretty well known for playing Legacy in the area, but, you know, dabble in Standard and Modern from time to time as well.
And I can't get a great look at Ned's hand there, but I do know that Phil's on blue-white control. I saw him sleeving up some of the old Gideon Jura and whatnot earlier this evening.
Yeah, it looks like Ned has, well, some blue cards of some variety.
I'm not surprised.
That's an Inquisition. I might be wrong. No, that's a Snapcaster and Inquisition. Presumably he's on Grixis then.
Yeah, so presumably Grixis Shadow.
Although there's a chance that, you know, just the context of those two cards, it could be fairies as well.
Fair enough. Well, that's a Tassiger in the front? Yeah.
Okay. The chance of fairies is slightly lower if you see a
The
Tassiger.
Bloodstained Mire also.
Yeah, it looks like it's probably going to be Grixis Shadow.
Okay. This is a matchup that the blue-white control deck is sort of designed to fight. There's not, you know, the deck sort of was around the fringes for a while. Was one of the ways that people tried to beat Eldrazi. When that was a 2-0 deck, but it's not like I don't think without Grixis Shadow sort of really rising and Shadow decks generally rising so far so fast, blue-white control would not have been as good as this. We do have a problem with the camera. We're going to try to see if that irons itself out. Okay.
And it did.
Yeah, so we have Thought Scour. Is that a Jace Vryn's Prodigy that just hit the bin?
It does look like that was Jace.
As well as a Watery Grave, which is actually important because when you scour away your fetchables in this deck, you only have like 5 of them.
Right, like if you hit a shock, sometimes that's the only, you know, shock of that type that you have access to.
This is true.
And, you know, if Ned has a land, he will be able to do it, play a turn 2 Tassiger.
Okay. Well, it looks like the camera is continuing to give us some problems here. Let's hope this will... Okay. So he will instead Inquisition with Ned on 15.
Alright, and Ned's going to see a Condemn, a double Snapcaster, and a Detention Sphere.
Nice.
Yeah, so Phil will be able to have an answer for this Tassiger. Should Ned ever attack with it.
Right, and obviously if you're not attacking, but, you know, the Condemn is, like, much more situational than the D-Sphere, so I do like the decision to take that there.
Well, part of the problem here also is if Ned is on Death Shadow Grixis...
Yeah, he is. I saw a shadow in his hand.
Oh, sure. The Condemn represents quite a bit of a problem.
Yeah, it really undoes a lot of the work that you try to do with the that you try to do with like your fetches and shocks and stuff, and sometimes like you just don't draw enough cards to get yourself back down into a reasonable life range after you get condemned. And with the Snapcasters, like that's multiple condemns.
Right, like if Ned didn't see the Snapcasters, maybe you take the Condemn and, you know, you have a chance to race here. As it stands, unless Ned draws another, I don't know, he would need multiple Inquisition effects to even start attacking with this Tassiger.
Yeah.
You know, Ned does have the option if he can try to play the long game. If we can get to 4 lands here and just start activating Tassiger repeatedly.
Sure. We are having some consistent problems. Yeah, Dan's going to go ahead and unplug and replug the camera, throw it back up to us for just a second. This should be resolved momentarily. But, all in all, this seems like, because Phil does have the Condemn, it does seem pretty Phil favored right now. Like, I don't know if there's a... let's see. Okay, let's see. So, we see here... Oh, no, it's not a Jace Vryn's Prodigy. It's a...
it's a Delver.
Delver. Okay, so more threat density in this deck than we're used to seeing. And Phil, like, just immediately Supreme Verdicts on that. No...
Yeah, you
get the 2-for-1, right?
Yeah, easy 2-for-1.
And yeah, Supreme Verdict is a card that this deck really, like, that the Grixis Shadow deck can sometimes really struggle with. Although, okay, so that's like the 4th Watery Grave we've seen?
Are we sure this is the Shadow?
I guarantee he has a shadow in his hand.
Okay.
Is this like Esper Shadow? We're just going to put this to Shadow.
Yeah, this is increasingly looking like full control. Well, I guess the flip cards were Delvers instead of Jace's, though. So
Yeah, you know, he has a shadow. The Shadow's one of the last cards in his hand. That's
okay,
a
stubborn
right
now,
here.
sure.
And see, the Shadow's right here, yeah. Yeah, so 2 mana here. Deploy a Snapcaster Mage. Presumably targeting...
Yeah, Snapcaster Inquisition. Pretty easy here.
Pretty good hand, although notably Phil doesn't actually have the mana to cast that Cryptic without Ghost Quartering himself. Also, you can't take it, but like...
You're right.
That's just something to note.
Ned's just gonna take the higher value play. He's just gonna take the Snapcaster.
Yeah. Yeah, no point in giving them a free 2/1 and letting them flash back a spell.
Alright, Phil ended up with the Serum Visions for a turn and sees another Serum Visions. And it's gonna keep Serum Vision Blessed Alliance.
Blessed Alliance, pretty good here.
Alright, and this fetch has actually been quite good. It's gonna give him access to Cryptic Command if necessary, and also the opportunity to shuffle away those 2 cards if, you know, the context of this game changes.
Right. The question is, though, he still has to Ghost Quarter himself, right? Because he only has blue off the fetch, and then 2 non-blues.
You're correct.
Ned says Thoughtseize you.
So now this is a little bit... Now that this is an interesting decision, right? I think Condemn is the least impact here. But the Cryptic Command... I mean, this means that you're going to have to eventually run into it, unless Ned can deploy, like, a Tasigur and back it up with Stubborn now.
I think that Death Shadow's at 3/3.
Ned's going to see if Phil wants to bite on this Condemn, and Phil seems happy to not. Knowing that he has a Blessed Alliance on top as well, with a Condemn,
Right.
this means that he can finally, you know, get some
really,
value out of the Blessed Alliance.
Absolutely. The question is, though, is if Ned makes this this Death Shadow into a 4/4 or bigger, he will have access to Stubborn Denial turned on, and that is very, very powerful.
It's very powerful, except the Supreme Verdict that Phil kept on top.
Oh, did he? I didn't see what he kept.
Yeah, there's a Verdict on top. Phil's got double removal in hand. Notably, double removal that he doesn't have to fetch for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be in pretty rough shape here.
Is Ned maybe playing like a Bug Shadow deck?
I mean, we haven't seen any green cards yet, and there's a Delver already. So
He plays Bug and everything else, though.
The Verdict might just be the off-color fetch.
Sure.
One thing we haven't seen is we haven't seen any red cards.
Yeah, this is why I changed it to blue-black. Oh, so he's just gonna he's gonna go to 9. Okay. This makes sense. This is like, this turns on Stubborn Denial. Actually, what this turns on is Denial, Snap Denial.
Yes.
Which is really, really good.
Yeah, so Phil is likely going to take a hit here. Ooh, but I like this. This is going to be a...
Snap Thoughtseize.
Yeah, Snap Thoughtseize with Snap Inquisition.
Right, and the nice thing about the Thoughtseize here is, like, you can get... Like, Phil can try to Blessed Alliance, it'll get Stubborn Denial, and then the Thoughtseize will take the...
Yeah. So what Phil's probably thinking is, like, does he want to fire off the Cryptic to counter and tap? But if you did that, I mean, like, with the Supreme Verdict on top, you kind of just have to, like, take a really big hit here.
Yeah, this hit will be for 8, but the Supreme Verdict is a nice safety valve for that.
Right. So this actually is, again, kind of an interesting decision. You definitely leave him with the Blessed Alliance. That we're just not concerned about, since we have the Supreme Verdicts. But do we take the Condemn or the Cryptic Command? Because the Condemn means that the Death Shadow will never be able to attack meaningfully.
Right.
But the Cryptic Command represents just, like, an
Fog.
answer to anything else later in the game.
He takes the Blessed Alliance.
Ooh, that,
I think he might be worried about getting escalated.
Sure, but the escalation just doesn't. I mean, is it target player gains 4 life?
Yes.
Or, oh, okay.
We'll pull a Blessed Alliance here.
But that's not nearly as relevant as getting Condemned here. Yeah, and Phil's just gonna snap off this Verdict here. Ned's gonna probably look sadly at his hand.
It's not Wrath of God, it is Supreme Verdict. Oh, but he immediately rips another Shadow like an animal. it's totally fine. Has a Dismember in his hand too? Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, but Phil draws a Condemn, so, you know, ripping top decks back and forth here. But one of them is going to taste the IOK.
Ned promptly sees the... So this is awkward because Ned knows that if he attacks, it gets condemned, you stubborn now, and that gets cryptic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
despite
it's not
having
great.
a...
Wait, well, Phil. Oh, I guess Phil would have to fetch. Yeah, but it's still fine. So he puts the Ghost Quarter into play.
Yeah, because Ned is on a 2-color deck, it's, you know, you're not playing around, you know, getting Ghost Quartered out of the game.
Yeah, I feel that.
And Ned draws a Thought Scour here, so just gonna fire it off immediately to see what we can redraw. Gonna mill land Street Wraith and find another land.
Okay. Not ideal, and the problem here is like Ned is Ned is sort of so locked out of doing anything that
Yeah, the thing is, it just doesn't get better. The
Right.
later and later this game goes, the worse and worse it gets for you.
D-Sphere is going to get Stubborn Denialed here. But Phil leaving up Condemn off the fetch means that it's not great. Oh, Thoughtseize though? Thoughtseize.
I mean,
Thoughtseize is pretty good here. You can take the Condemn, you can beat for a lot. You're at 5. This will be an attack for 8.
mhm.
Phil goes to 7. He is dead to the shadow.
Yeah, Phil went a little bit shields down there to play the Detention Sphere.
Right. Yeah, see, the problem with the thing is, like, what are you holding it for, right? Like, you have your Condemn, like, he had to rip the Thoughtseize to do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument for if you found another land, you'd be able to do both. You'd be able to de-sphere and leave up Cryptic.
Mm-hmm. Phil will Ghost Quarter one of Ned's Watery Graves.
Ooh.
Ned... Oh, God. Oh, man.
So this isn't really cutting Ned off of too many things, but it is cutting him off from doing, like, multiple things a turn.
I didn't realize that Ned had so few lands in his deck. It's like, what, 4 Watery Graves and, 4 Watery Graves in a swamp?
I think part of the reason also was
My God.
was to cut Ned.
This is... Ned draws Stubborn Denial, can protect his shadow now.
Yeah. Part of the reason Phil fired it off right there was to be able to protect his Cryptic from being Stubborn now.
Mm-hmm.
Phil's gonna go ahead and redraw,
But I think he's just dead here, right?
unless he has double removal.
Ooh,
And he doesn't.
He doesn't.
Wow. So
Wow.
Phil spent that game in a very commanding position and just ended up,
Not having the answer.
yeah, very well played by Ned.
So I think that the double Ghost Quarter, like, I understand what Phil wanted to do, but it might have been a little bit hasty. Like, he could have held up Cryptic instead.
So the problem is Ned has lethal next turn, right?
Right, that's fair.
So Phil if he doesn't do anything, he's priced into either tap or bounce and draw, right?
Right.
So if he's priced into that, he might as well do it. If he fires off the Ghost Quarters, he can do it without fear of being Stubborn Denial. Because it feels a little silly to lose to Stubborn Denial when you're like
That's true.
potentially,
That's true.
drawing life.
Losing to Stubborn Denial is a bad feeling.
Yeah. Firing off the Ghost Quarters did shut off some Snapcaster out.
That's fair.
But
That's
he had
true.
already seen multiple Snapcasters.
2, yeah.
Yeah, so at that point it was not an unreasonable line that Phil took.
For sure.
But yeah, just very well played by Ned. Having the patience.
There were a lot of turns when he didn't attack, knowing that there was, like... Because he knew there was a Condemn, but he also was, like, counter magic back up, like...
Yeah, and it wasn't like Phil like drew garbage, right? Like he drew.
They both drew very relevant spells.
Right. Just Phil was never able to deploy his Snapcasters to any effect.
And yeah, and then they got slowly eaten out of his hand.
Yeah, I mean Ned running discard spells for like multiple crucial turns.
Yeah, Ned cast
many
like two or three Thoughtseizes and 2 Inquisitions that game.
I think all the Snapcasters flashback.
So
yeah,
I think he
discard.
cast 5 discard spells.
Yeah. Which is asking a lot for Phil to like
How do you
have
yeah?
that
How do you
many
beat
answers.
5 targeted discard spells?
And notably, Phil running Condemns instead of Path to Exiles. You know, like Condemn.
The restriction on Condemn is relevant.
Right. And same with Blessed Alliance.
Well, I think Phil's probably running both. He just like probably is playing 2 Condemn and drew both of them.
Ending up with this. But yeah, again, like he also ended up drawing Blessed Alliance, which never really was removal in this matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, so the thing is like, most of the time it is though. Like most of the time, that card is like, you just end their life. Like they just don't have it. So, you know, we'll see where this goes. I don't really know. I mean, I'm assuming Ned is boarding stuff like Dispel and things, and he's taking things out like Fatal Push and whatnot. We will see what he does here. Phil, you know, this is one Death Shadow matchup where you take the Spreading Seas out, I think. Like, you're not... Like, if Ned is on straight blue-black, then you don't care, right?
Oh, yeah, I was surprised to see how few basics that Ned had.
Right. Normally, the Shadow decks are playing 5 Shocks and 2 basics. I would think that, you know, Ned is on what looks like 4 Watery Graves and 1 basic. So, again, 5 sources, but just, like... But that's only 5 sources. Most Shadow decks play 7.
There is a chance that Ned like milled some of them that we
saw a mill Watery Grave.
Right.
So that's how we know there's 4 of those. Yeah, that was very confusing at the outset, being like, wait a minute, these are just all Watery Graves.
Right.
But the blue black, like staying blue black, lets you like. I guess it lets you play like more counter magic if you want it.
Right.
And he also gets to play these Delvers.
Yeah, and I think.
And the Delvers are sometimes just like really good at aggressively closing.
Yeah, I mean, one downside of playing this Delvers is you're playing above average non-spell count.
Sure.
Because you playing
have Tassigers, Snapcasters, Shadows, Delvers,
and that's quite a few cards in it. You know, on top of your lands, and I mean Ned. I don't think he was playing any Serum Visions either. We
didn't see it.
Because we saw half a stack.
That's fair.
Right. So the combination of all of that means, like, I'm really not a fan of the Delvers. There's no.
Oh, you're playing Street Race too.
Street Race, yeah. So these Delvers, like, you have to get lucky for them to flip. Like,
sure.
Even naturally in Modern, like, you know, it's like 50-50-ish to flip them. But
you normally play like 28 spells.
But yeah, Ned's spell count must be much lower than that. Like, he's obviously cheating on the lands a little bit, but there's just so many creatures.
Yeah, I would agree with your assessment. But it worked out for him that game. Let's see if it can work out a second.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ned's gonna look at
Stubborn Denial, Death Shadow, discard spell, fetch land. He has Serum Visions in his deck, dude. There's 2 of them.
Oh, okay. Does he have any land in his hand?
Yeah, he's got 1 fetch right in the middle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, if we got Serum Vision...
If you have a Serum Vision, I think you can keep this hand. You might not turn 1 discard, though, which I guess doesn't really matter because, like, none of Phil's not playing relevant spells.
Right, Phil's...
Turn 1 and 2, so, like, you can play Serum Visions, set up a land, play Serum Visions, cast Inquisition. Like, this is fine. Plenty of time. No worries.
Yeah, based on what you saw as well, you don't even have to worry about, like, turn 2, like, Wall of Omens, because it seems very unlikely that Phil has, you know, the Resto package in it. Like, this is just...
None of the blue-white controllers are playing. Well, Phil is going to be on 6 here. Does keep and scry. Thinks about the scry, puts it bottom, and we're off. Let's see. Flooded Strand and a pass. Ned with a draw step finds another Death Shadow.
Okay. If we can turn these on, it'll do some amount of work.
Yeah. We'll put him to 17, I believe. He's going to, yeah. Also makes it easier to search your deck for these shock lands, you know?
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, Ned playing a surprising number of off-color fetches, and it was like, never got a red source last game, so it was...
Yeah, a little confusing.
All right.
Draws, scries. I think he has a double bottom because there's no land there.
That was I think Dispel and it was
Dispel and something. Phil draws. He's got a Flooded Strand. Looks like he'll crack that. Probably getting a Plains, and then he'll get a cast of Serum Visions with one of these islands in his hand. Thinks about it again. Maybe he'll get Hallowed Fountain. Just because, like, having triple blue in this deck is so important.
Right. It feels silly to, like, accidentally put yourself off of Cryptic Mana later in the game.
Okay, so Phil will go to 16 with the fetches.
Yeah.
Does have at least 2 lands in hand beyond what he's played out.
Mm-hmm. But the access to early double blue means that, you can take more interesting lines going forward.
Yeah. Serum Visions, draw, finds a path. Scry's Colonnade, gonna go bottom. I think maybe Snapcaster topped, I couldn't tell. Back over to Ned. He'll draw. Does he find a land? He doesn't. It's a Stubborn Denial. So now he's got to go for another Serum Visions and just, hope that draw a land, scry 2 lands.
So he drew a Thoughtseize.
He's got some Bloodstained Mire plus a card. He'll leave the Bloodstained Mire on top and probably just have to send it back. I think he might have to discard 2,
Yeah,
actually.
and Ned's at 8 cards currently.
Yeah, that's rough. He did get to look. He gave like 5 looks at getting a land, right?
So he was on a
draw, Serum Visions, see the top 2, plus your next draw step.
Yes.
Plus the Serum Visions random draw, so 6.
6 cards, yep. A little bit unlucky, but...
But I mean, we're only playing like 18, 19 lands.
Mm-hmm.
Discards a Tassiger. Phil plays a Snapcaster, flashes back to Serum Vision. So aggressive Snapcaster use here by Phil.
Yeah. I don't think Phil has anything to do with his mana anyways.
Sure.
I mean, he has a path to exile, but there's no point. Ned's not going to do anything where you want force to immediately pass. So there's no reason not to just go for this value play.
Ned will play an Inquisition. Got a path, a D-Sphere, a Jace Architect of Thought, and some lands. That Jace is coming down next turn, so I think it might be in Ned's interest to Thoughtseize that.
Yeah. So Ned can take 2 cards out here if he.
I think that's the play.
Yeah. Ned also has a cute play of passing and then just force spiking the
Jace.
The Jace.
Sure.
Although you probably get more value out of the Stubborn Nod later on, given how many Death Shadows there are in your hand.
Also, I'm a little bit surprised that Ned chose to take the path instead of chose to take the D-Sphere instead of the path, just because Stubborn Denial hits the D-Sphere and it costs more, so you make your opponent be more inefficient. But if Ned has cards like Dispel in his hand, that's relevant against the path as well.
Right.
So,
and we saw Ned bottom a Dispel earlier.
Okay. Spreading Seas will take down one of Ned's Water Graves.
Yep.
This is an attack. He'll go to 10 here. The thing is with this attack is Phil is putting the Death Shadow closer to turning on when Ned really doesn't have good enablers for it, so maybe not the best.
So Ned does have the Dispel in hand and does also have the Death Shadow.
Phil thinks that he can't lose because there's Stubborn Denial going on, but Phil will untap. Take a draw. Death Shadow currently a 3/3.
Does have a path to exile, but unfortunately not going to do much against the Dispel in hand.
Yeah, Dispel just such a backbreaking card.
Yeah, and Phil's got to be aware of this because...
Oh wait, is the Death Shadow on? I feel like the Death Shadow might be on. Oh no,
is it?
It's not. He doesn't have the Dispel in hand then.
Oh,
or he's Stubborn Denialed, just to make Phil pay an extra mana to be less efficient. And I don't know. Does Ned actually have a Dispel in hand? This is the real question.
It must not have been a Dispel, right? There's no way.
I mean, we did see him bottom one.
Ned's,
so Ned is at 8. So and then Phil ghost quartering there because he knows he only saw the one basic last time. Ned does draw a Polluted Delta though, has another Death Shadow. Phil really can't do anything about this one.
All right. No, so the card that we saw must have been
wrong. Phil can. Phil draws a Supreme Verdict. It's fine. Kabam. Get these off the table, he says.
Yep. And without K command in these colors.
Right. Ned doesn't have a way to recur these threats. Once they're gone, they're gone. Did he draw a Tasker off the Thoughtscar? No, it's a Street Wraith. Okay. He can cycle that to go to 6. He's pretty far from casting it ever.
No. Oh, right.
Actually, he physically can't cast it. If he only has 5 mana sources, he's lost one of them.
Right. and that choosing to not replace his Watery Grave with the Spreading Seas.
Yeah.
So it only has 3 sources in play. So it's gonna fetch, draws Inquisition.
Yeah. He's down to 5 here. He'll untap. He'll probably get to Inquisition on Phil's last card, but I think he actually does already know it's a land. So this is a Delver that he's just drawn.
No, it's a Spell Snare.
Spell Snare, right, okay. Here comes a Delver and a passing of the turn. Phil will take a draw. Phil sends it back immediately to Ned. Ned gonna look at the top card. Not gonna flip the Delver. Draws a fish though. Gurmag Angler is really good here.
Gurmag's pretty good. Ned don't care about Blessed Alliance, and is gonna probably jam this Gurmag Angler. Notably, once Ned resolves his Gurmag Angler, his Stubborn now is also gonna be on.
Mm-hmm.
Which is gonna really shave the number of outs Phil has.
Right. When Phil has to go runner.
Keep in mind, Ned also has a Snapcaster in hand, so
yeah,
we're talking like runner.
Ooh, okay. So draw here from Phil is a Condemn, which will probably just taste the Stubborn Denial. Ned manages to miss on another draw step for Delver, but
so Ned,
I don't know if it's gonna matter.
Yeah, Ned now has a cute play of being able to fetch with the Delver trigger in play. Ooh, so that's a Vendilion click.
I think that probably just gets to happen.
So Phil, I think his other card is Condemn.
Yeah. Target you. Ned's gonna look at his graveyard. I think he has a Stubborn Denial in there. So like even if the first one gets taken or the snap like he has access to Stubborn Denial no matter what.
Right.
But it looks like he'll flash in Snapcaster here.
I'm honestly a little bit shocked by this play.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would flash it in.
Because if you have access to both.
Phil says bottom, and Ned gets to draw.
Yeah, Ned reminds him to draw a card.
Did Ned target? Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
No. Oh boy. Ned goes up to 10. Oh boy.
Yeah, because Ned definitely cast a Stubborn Denial earlier. Might have forgotten about that.
He looked at his graveyard though.
Yeah, well, I don't know
what
he
are you
was
targeting? Well, we'll see here.
Oh, it targeted the Sarah Visions.
Okay.
But,
I mean, yes, but also,
yeah.
I'm pretty mad about that. Untap here from Ned. He'll get to draw. Draws another Delver, though, so we'll Inquisition here. Phil in response will pat the Snapcaster Mage.
Okay, I mean, Ned did double scry, so... Well, he can't even search anyway, so...
Yeah, he doesn't have anything to get. Delver will come down, and we'll go back over to Phil.
Now, has a lot of live draws.
Yeah, Phil does need to rip stuff, though. Like, he can't just, let the Delver go unchecked. Top card Thought Scour, let's go. Ned flips the Delver.
Yeah, that's certainly one
Hit
of the
him.
better draws. This can be anything here.
Phil plays a tapped Colonnade and passes. Delver does not beat that in the air, notably, so we'll get a flip, and a draw. I okay the draw. Draw step is a Dispel. Attack with the Delver puts you to 9. The problem is I don't think that he's ever going to be able to push through the Colonnade because I'm pretty sure he boarded out his Fatal Pushes.
Almost certainly, right?
So, like, Phil can just keep him at bay.
Ned might have a Dismember left in his graveyard. We haven't seen any removal, like, drawn or put in the graveyard.
Oh, it's fine. He has a Death Shadow. It'll be a 3/3.
Pretty, yeah.
I mean, he can also fetch to make it bigger, I believe. Just a constant discards here from Ned.
Right. And Phil kept a Jace in hand.
Sure.
To leave up activation for Colonnade. If I was Ned... Actually, it doesn't matter. If you fetch, you're going to turn it up. I probably would preemptively fetch in case Phil responds to your fetch later on.
Sure. Let's see.
Now, Phil is now going to feel a lot of pressure here because eventually this Death Shadow is going to grow large enough that we can,
beat past the Colonnade.
Right.
I mean, if Ned fetch shocks, it's like you're in a rough spot because the Death Shadow is a 6/6.
Yeah, and we saw Phil there.
Even if it fetches, he trades.
We saw Phil pull up the Stubborn Denials. He's definitely thinking about this. If he's going to ever resolve this chase, it probably is going to be this turn.
Agreed.
If you don't, you're giving Ned just more time to draw the other two. Currently, Snapcaster is in and out because you can't snap. You can't snap Stubborn now on 2 mana.
Yeah, Phil realizes that Ned has the ability to fetch with this Polluted Delta that sort of glared out at the top. He can fetch with that, go to 9 life, Stubborn Denial's active, and Phil just gets like mad hard punished.
Right.
Even if Ned finds nothing with the fetch. Yeah, so I feel like if you're Phil, though, you can't just wait, right?
I mean, if you wait, if Ned can, like, fetch Shock, which presumably he can. He'll go to 7. It looks
Is our
like
camera having
we
problems?
may have frozen here.
Damn it. Alright. Oh. Okay, so nothing? No cameras are working right now? Yeah, so Dan is going to attempt to fix the camera. Everything appears to be broken. Why that is, we are unsure, but we are going to do our best to be back with you momentarily. Huh. Oh, wow, that's exciting. Everything is red now in the booth. Hang on. Unplug both cameras. Yeah, everybody picnic in the chat, please. This is not what we want. Normally the booth camera's fine, but here we're...
Oh man, what poor timing to have this.
I know. We're still just doing actual nothing here.
Unfortunately, it looks like we might have to reboot here.
Yeah, but tilting. But this is literally okay. We can try to shut down the stream software, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we are sorry, folks. It looks like we are going to have to restart the stream. For whatever reason, both cameras have catastrophically gone out. Although I am seeing blue light on this one now. No.
Yeah, it looks like...
Okay, we're going to have to restart the stream. We'll be back as soon as we can. We're really sorry about this, guys.